This is Bloody F Mess, and you are listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast right now.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Isn't it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dogbowl Studio is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on X at No Shock Pod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. And our guest is
Bloody F Mess.
Yeah, punk rock legend, promoting his newest album, Dark Daze Unfazed.
He's coming to Davenport, Iowa on March 14th to the Raccoon Motel, coming to play live, and we talked a little bit about his some of his Illinois roots.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get to that interview.
All right, good night.
Good night. Bloody, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Hey, thanks for joining us tonight, buddy.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. So let's get right into this. This past November of 2023, you released your latest album, Dark Daze Unfazed. Can you give us an insight to the writing and recording of this new endeavor, or this newest endeavor?
Yeah, thanks for asking, man. Dave Moe is a great Central Illinois musician that plays in the band Super 88, and he and I were formerly in a band called the Transfusions for years. He sent me an album worth of material, like 13 songs with no lyrics or titles, but music that was all 13 completely done, great rock and roll songs, and I picked 6 of those, and then he did another one for me, Baby Please Don't Go, the cover we did. And then, so half the album is Dave Moe with the music and me on the lyrics and vocals, and he plays all the instruments, and then the other half is all like legendary people that I'm like fans of, and I thought I reached out to members of the Plasmatics and the Germs and like Fang and all kinds of cool people, Jordan Longmire, and did a lot of collaborations with a lot of great people.
Fantastic. Jeff, you got the next one?
Well, yeah, I mean, my favorite song on the album is Mother Under My Wheel. Can you talk a little bit about that one?
You know, that's fantastic you asked, because that's a great song by my friend Lisa Leathers, who has played guitar and did vocals on that song with me. And that's her song from years ago with a band called Safe Sex, and it's a classic like Central Illinois punk kind of rock and roll anthem. So I wanted to resurrect it for the album with Lisa, and she's going to be performing that with us in Davenport, Iowa at the Raccoon Motel on March 14th.
I'm going to write that down.
And we'll be there. So
awesome. That'll be great to meet you.
Absolutely. So, my favorite track, obviously, is Michael Monroe. First of all, because it's a great song, but secondly, I'm a big Hanoi Rocks junkie. Talk a little bit more about about this track, the writing and recording, and your I guess your I don't know what I'm trying to say, but just elaborate a little bit more about it.
Well, basically, that was one of the songs that Dave Moe had sent me on the 13 song Bloody Baker's Dozen, he called it. And I picked that song. It sounded so rock and roll, and I thought, I want to do a tribute to Michael Monroe. I'm a huge fan of Hanoi and all his solo stuff as well, of course, and big fan of Michael. And I thought, you know what? I've done tributes in the past to Iggy Pop and also Alice Cooper. So I thought, why not make it a trilogy and do a tribute to Michael Monroe? He'd be a worthy subject matter. So I just composed, once I had the music already in my hands, all the bass, drums, and guitar were recorded. I just kind of wrote my lyrics around that and titled it Michael Monroe and just went from there. Just started writing the words. And basically the third verse, I believe, of that song, or second or third verse, what I did was I sat down and made a list of every single Michael Monroe solo album and all the Hanoi Rocks albums, the titles, and put them on paper, and then I arranged them kind of poetically, and that's what that whole verse is composed of, just those titles. Scrambled up in a cool. Kind of a poetic fashion.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Well, and then the opening track, Rock and Roll Therapy, is pretty cool too. Can you talk a little bit about like how long it took you to write the album, or is some of the songs older, or are they all pretty new for this collaboration?
Well, Dave Moe sent over the songs in 2023, early 2023, and I started composing immediately, maybe late 2022 at the earliest. And I immediately started picking out the ones I wanted to use, and basically started writing it. And by the time we got done I started adding all my lyrics and getting a hold of other collaborators and gathering other songs. Once I had the songs, they were done. And I just sent them over to Paul Rossler down in L.A., who is the legendary keyboard player for the Screamers and 45 Grave and a lot of bands. And I've worked with him for the last decade or so, for the last few albums. And so when I got to L.A. in late October 2023, to do the vocals, I literally just knocked them out in like one session, one day, except for, I think, the song Wax Fruit we did on day 2. But everything was done in one session, all the vocals. It was real easy.
Fantastic. As you've recorded music throughout your career, talk to us a little bit more about the evolution of your songwriting, the evolution of the Bloody F Mess sound.
Well, it's definitely changed. Started out with hardcore punk with a band called Tips Patrol in '83, and then it graduated to more nihilistic punk with a band called Hate that did a lot of crazy stuff with Gigi Allen and stuff, that whole era. And then after that, I graduated to doing more country. I did outlaw country music for a few years in a band that played out 3 times a week, and I did a record and did country music, outlaw country, originals and covers. And then after that, got into hard rock / punk with a band called The Veins, and that was a more polished sound, but real heavy and still maintaining the punk rock. Graduated to the Transfusions, which was straight up rock and roll punk rock, and just kind of kept going. And it's crazy because there's been a ton of bands since then, and they've all had a different sound, but all punk rock based.
Absolutely. Jeff, you got the next one? You want me to take the next one?
Well, yeah. So, speaking of The Veins, I did see, I watched a video of, it was just, I don't think it was a video, it was just a song, but from 1999, there was an unreleased Bloody Mess in the Veins. I think you guys did a Plasmatics cover, Doom Sing. Can you talk a little bit about that track that was for a tribute that didn't get released?
Exactly. That was for a Plasmatics tribute that never happened, but we tried. West Beach was spearheading that from the Plasmatics, and something fell through on some end, but it's all good. No one's fault. But Wes is a great dude, and we got a hold of Dave Glover, who was the Veins guitar player, and he's like probably one of the best guitar players I've ever played with in my life, and he's legendary. And he recorded the Veins album, wrote it with me, and then I got a hold of him, and he just went ahead and laid down all the guitar and bass on the Doom song, and he put it's actually a drum track on. It's like a drum machine or whatever, and we just called it Bloody in the Veins because we wanted to keep that name going, but it's really just me and Dave Glover on the Doom song.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
So as far as what type of live performances have you done so far to support Dark Daze Unfazed, and I guess as we look forward, are you going to be doing any type of proper touring to support the album? How's it all going to work out here?
Well, it's an interesting question because it's all collaboration. So I'm faced with the luxury of not having to be in a band and all the band practice and all the stuff that comes with being in a band. But at the same time, as far as tour, I haven't done any touring to support the album at all. I've just been selling it via social media and like YouTube and stuff. But thanks to Ragged Records and Fanatic Records and Punk Media, I've been able to get it out there on vinyl, CD, it's out digitally. But yeah, as far as touring, good question. Super 88 from Central Illinois, which is Dave Moe's band. Again, we're going to do some gigs together in March. We're just doing 2. Those guys are busy guys. They all have families and their own band. But we're going to do 2 gigs together in the Midwest at the Raccoon Motel in Davenport, Iowa, March 14th. And in Chicago on the March 15th, which is at the Livewire Club. And that's my birthday is the day after that. So I'm going to kind of consider it a birthday weekend and / little mini tour for Dark Daze Unfazed. And, it's cool. Dave Moe's going to be on it. So we'll be playing 3/4 of the record, or at least 7 songs from the album, at least half of it. And then we're going to be doing classics from the old days too.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you were a DJ in Bloomington, Illinois. Is that correct?
I was a DJ. Started out in Peoria, and then I got a full-time gig. It started out with a full-time gig at WWCT, and then a full-time gig at WIHN in Bloomington.
Yeah, that's not too far from us. We're up in the Quad Cities, and so then on your Facebook page you had some live videos of Carbondale, Illinois, and Peoria, Illinois, and then you've mentioned a lot about Illinois artists. So that made me do a little deep dive and see that you had Illinois roots. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was in Peoria all the way up until 2011, and then I moved out to Oregon, and that's where I'm still at.
Oh, cool.
Very good. I wanted to bring this back to Dark Daze Unfazed. The album artwork, it's phenomenal. It's very, very unusual and is very, very original in the same words. Talk to us about the brainchild behind the artwork for the new album.
Great question, man. The art, it was Sam Dantone, a fantastic person, good friend of mine, and just a phenomenal artist up in Portland. And I literally just sent him some ideas on paper, and the only thing I asked that he put in there was put an ohm symbol somewhere, and he did that. But the rest of it was all him just kind of knowing me and knowing what I'm into and knowing what I'm into. And it was wild because my oldest daughter, she actually said, "Oh, that's cool that Sam put all the stuff that you told him on the cover." I said, "Nope, I didn't tell him to put anything on the cover. That's what he came up with. But the ohm symbol is there." And my wife Tracy actually took the cover photo art and most of the photos that are inside with the insert as well. So yeah, but together they did great. I think Sam Dantone's fantastic, and I'm glad you guys like that art.
It's fantastic. With the day of in the now, album sales are not what they were 25 years ago, and that being said, is a lot of bands have to rely on merchandise, all various types of merchandise, shirts, sweatshirts, whatever, socks, whatever they can come up with. For you, merchandise-wise, have you got into any of that stuff, or how far have you gone as far as merchandising the Bloody F Mess name?
Well, up until now, I've always been really good at that stuff, man. I've always had record labels to back me up, or if I didn't have a label, I would always self-contained, but things have taken a turn. So I'm running Fanatic Records, but I don't really have much of a budget. So I don't really have much merchandise, just pretty much the music itself. But when we go to do those gigs in the Midwest in March, we're going to definitely have some cool shirts for sale.
Oh, fantastic. Jeff, you got the next one? Or do you want me to take it?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we do have buttons. I have a bunch of buttons, old school, like badges or buttons, whatever you want to call them, that my buddy makes up in Wisconsin. He's got a little button factory, so I do have a bunch of buttons that I usually send out with my orders.
Oh, very good. All right, we're going to go back to 1988. Bloody Mess and the Scabs was formed. The band drew criticism for using artwork that was created by John Wayne Gacy. Can you give us, our listeners, some background on the band and the decision to go with Gacy's artwork?
Well, yeah, basically at the time, I was into like the dark and macabre, and I was fascinated by stuff like that. I see that true crime stuff is huge on the internet today, and people are really into that kind of stuff. And I was just like that. I had a mind that was very intrigued by that kind of stuff. I like to read the books. And instead of reading the books, I decided to go to the source. And at the same time, I was actually making money because Gacy was a painter. So that was what I did. Was I approached him and I wrote to him saying, hey, basically, I've read all the books about you and all that, but I really just want to buy paintings from you. And I was going to resell them, which is what I did for years to make money. And it ended up me visiting him actually 3 separate times down on death row in Menard. It's like 3 separate 6-hour visits, which was pretty intense. But yeah, it was. But I'd go there and purchase artwork and bring it back with me. $50 a painting, and then sell them for a couple $100 per painting. And at the time, was a lot of money for a hustler like me. So it ended up where I ended up asking Gacy, or I think he actually volunteered. He actually said, if you want, I could do some art for your record cover that's coming out. I was like, really? And so our band was kind of like a sort of a nihilistic sort of shock rock band anyway. And I said, well, you know what? This would be perfect for our album. We're going to get so much crazy negative attention, but it's going to still put our band on the map somewhat. And we went with it. And we didn't realize that the entire world would know about it as soon as it came out, but we sent press releases out through UPI, United Press International, and all the other press at the time, and boy, it blew up. It was like in newspapers all around the country. And so we were getting, hit up from like talk shows like Jerry Springer and Phil Donahue and Rolanda and all the other ones. And I ended up going on the Phil Donahue show, and I did the Rolanda show, and then I did one from England, a show called Passengers that I did a little segment on too about that. Then I started, actually something positive came out of it. I started doing, I was working with the British Broadcasting Company, the BBC, with some consulting work about psychology and the psychology of the criminal mind and stuff like that. And I'd be on the phone with professors and people like that on different radio shows. So that was a trip, and they were actually paying me to do that.
Doing something like that was, very progressive for the times. Now it almost seems like it would be like an afterthought. But can you talk a little bit more about the backlash that you and the rest of the band got for using Gacy's artwork? Were there any at all?
Well, there's still, like right now, when people hear this interview, there's some people that don't even know that stuff happened. So right now, when I put this on my social media, and there's going to be certain people that their jaws are going to probably hit the floor, and they're going to be like, "What the hell?" But at the same time, we're also living in a society where you have to. It's sort of like, I don't even want to do any comparisons, but it's like walking on eggshells these days. You can't really say or do anything without offending somebody. Right. So even though we've progressed in times, the whole mindset of like censorship and people being offended and cancel culture and all that kind of stuff, it's definitely a real thing. It's bizarre. So, it's going to shock people just like it did then. Some people, maybe 20% of the people will be shocked by that now. But back then, yeah, it was definitely negative backlash. Of course, people judged us and what a bunch of pieces of, SHIT they are. Things like that, and just, but we were really young at the time. We really didn't care. We were a bunch of drinkers, and we just didn't give a damn really about what was going on with backlash. We thought it was funny, actually, at the time. We really kind of lived to be banned anyway. That band for 8 years was just a band that played gigs, but the music was always secondary to the chaos. So it just went hand in hand, really, with our shock rock.
Oh, fair enough.
Well, can you talk a little bit about working with Black and Blue Records?
Yeah, I was with them for years, man. I did a lot of records with them. The Scabs' first album and second album came out on Black and Blue. The Veins, the Transfusions came out on Black and Blue. And then I think they did my live album from 2010 as well, the Bloody and the Hollow Bodies live album. But yeah, did a lot of records on that label, man.
Fantastic. You've been involved with so many music projects throughout your career. As you look at your body of work, do you have a favorite album from your catalog? And on the flip side, do you have an album that you wish you could have a redo on? Like, hey, this was not my best work.
Yeah, if I had to redo one, it would be the first one. Even though I like it for what it is, I do appreciate it more than I did now. But lyrically, I dig it, not to toot my own horn, but there's a lot of humor on those lyrics, and there was also some heavy, profound stuff. And the band was good, but the production's so thin, so if I could do it over, I would on that one. But as far as my favorite, probably the Veins album, probably the new one, Dark Daze Unfazed. Divine Dirt, the one I did in 2018, the Bloody Mess Rock Circus. Yeah, I really do appreciate most of them, to be honest with you. They all have their own just like having a child. Each album's like has its own character and personality, and so. But those are my favorites. The Veins is probably one of my very, very favorites.
Oh, very good. Jeff, you got the next one? You want me to take it?
Well, so you had 13 songs for that came out on Dark Daze Unfazed. Did you have any more that didn't make the cut? And what are your plans for your next one?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of that.
Oh, like there was 13 tracks on Dark Daze Unfazed. Did you record more? Were there songs that didn't make the cut, and what are your plans for your next album?
You know what? We pretty much just picked the ones that sounded great right off the bat to me that Dave Moe sent me. So I still do have those other songs that he sent me that if I really wanted to work with him, I could. But he's like a human jukebox. Dave's got thousands and thousands and thousands of songs pre-recorded that he keeps stashed away, and he's always recording. And he, interestingly enough, he names these songs to keep track of them. He names them a male's name, like Harold or Jim or William. Every one of these tracks is named very eccentrically, but if I really wanted to do another record, I could just get a hold of Dave Moe and do an album and have the music in probably a week. So,
awesome.
Well,
but I don't have any plans to do anything in the future right now. I'm working on a Plasmatics Tribute right now, though, with Wes Beach from the Plasmatics, and it's 4 Plasmatics cover songs, and it's 2 originals. So we're actually actively working on that right now. And then we have a video we're working on for the song Wax Fruit from the new album too right now.
Oh, cool. Oh, very good. Well, you've alluded to that you're now residing in Oregon. Can you give our listeners an insight of, Oregon has always been kind of considered the stepchild to Seattle as far as music scene goes, especially Portland, I guess. Talk a little bit about the scenes in Oregon. Is it still as vibrant as it once was, or what's it like now?
Well, it seems to be, but I'm at the opposite end of the state of Portland. I'm like literally right over the Northern California border, right there in the very most southernmost town. So I'm really don't ever see the city action because Southern Oregon's real laid back and it's real small. But there's a cool music scene around here. It's very small. It was a lot bigger in the past, but I think it'll grow and evolve like they always do. Portland seems like it's happening, though. My youngest daughter lives in Portland, and we go there quite a bit. And, there's always stuff happening there. So I do think the scene's pretty much flourishing. There's metal, there's punk, rock and roll, all kinds of hip-hop and different music up there.
Do you still find the Pacific Northwest to be that hotbed of alternative rock and roll?
I do, man. I've seen so many things here. Like I always heard being in the Midwest that music usually hits like LA or the West Coast and then about a year later it finds its way to the Midwest. And I found that to be pretty much true, man. There's a lot of stuff that I would see here first, and then later on it catches on across the country slowly. So yeah, the music, there's a certain energy about the West Coast that's different about the other parts of the country in an artistic sort of fashion. I don't know. There's this different vibe, as far as that. It seems like it's like a hotbed for creativity.
Oh, fair enough. Jeff, you got the next one?
Well, you mentioned the video that you're working on for Wax Fruit, and I think I read you had a couple other music videos for your newest album. Can you talk a little bit about your approach to music videos?
Yeah, I usually work with, I've done a few different videos with people, but most of my videos have been done with a guy named Mike Garrett, who's also based in Central Illinois, and great player, and he was in a band called the Pink Flamingos for years, and he was on the Country Trash Punks, the country record I did. But Mike Garrett, he puts together these amazing music videos, so we've done a ton with him since like 2010, 2011. We've been doing videos with Mike, and we just did one for 2 from the album. One for the song "Baby Please Don't Go," the blues rocks, cover that most rock bands have done at one time or another. We did that. I did that with Jordan Longmire. His father actually is the guy that started the Bay City Rollers. So Jordan did his debut musical performance with that song with me, which was awesome. And then, of course, Mike did the video for us. And then we did one called This Creepy Little Town, which just features me and Dave Moe, which I'm really proud of that one. The effects in it are really cool. It's just a great song, and it seems like a lot of people like that song. Once they see the video, they really kind of start saying, I really like that song a lot, kind of thing. So, yeah, it's a cool tune. And then the Wax Fruit video is being done by a friend of mine named Richard Allen in Racine, Wisconsin, and he used to design video games and stuff. So we're looking forward to the Wax Fruit video with West Beach and myself, and then Plasmatics drummer TC Tulliver is also on the drums.
Oh, very good. Let's talk a little bit more about the technology, modern day technology of being able to record in your home as opposed to get into a proper studio. We're seeing more and more artists that we interview that are taking the luxuries of doing it out of their own home. For you in this part of your career, where is your preference at being able to record in a residence as a home? We see them doing it in their restroom or whatever. Or do you like getting into the old proper studio and banging out that way? How does it work for you?
Well, most of these songs that I got sent to me on the album, the collaborative songs that I contributed the lyrics and vocals to and titles, they were done in that kind of setting. But for me, I like to go down to the traditional old school setting. That's why I go to Kitten Robot Studio down in Los Angeles. And that guy, Paul Rossler, like I say, he's a wizard. And he's done like so many great things on records and added keyboards to parts that I didn't even hear were there. And it's a super creative environment, when you get in those studios like that, where there's so much energy in those rooms from all the different artists that have recorded there through the years and stuff. It's just amazing. So that's my preference, is to go with the old school studio route. But it is great that we can do this stuff, like send these files back and forth. And I don't need, I recorded with Jim Neversink from South Africa. He's on there, but he lives in Denmark. And the guy that did the original production on it's in South Africa, and I'm in America. So it's pretty cool that we can do stuff like that and, and collaborate without having to be together. It is great for artistic stuff.
Absolutely. Jeff?
Yeah. Well, being a fan of music stores and stuff, we still have a few here in the Quad Cities that are pretty good, like Ragged Records. What's it like up there in Oregon? Do you are they few and far between?
Same. There's a lot of mom and pop shops out here, man. And Portland's got some really killer stores. But down here in Southern Oregon, we've got like Diana's Records here in town. It's owned by a single owner. And then there's also Shattered Records, a single owner. Really cool stores that just carry lots of really cool pop culture stuff. There's a place called Biscuits and Vinyl in the next town over. It's owned by a couple. Then there's one in another town over called Time Machine Records. It's owned by a guy that's just a fantastic record store. So I think record stores are still thriving, and I think they went down maybe for a little while through the ages when vinyl kind of declined. But I think these days, even though people really aren't buying vinyl and CDs as much, when you have a store that for the people that do, you can actually make it happen if it's done right. Like Ragged Records. I can't wait to check that place out in March.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
So I got one last question for you, then we'll leave you alone for the evening. This is a roundtable discussion for all three of us here. So we're going to start out with you. Last album you've listened to, what was it?
Oh, the last album I listened to, gosh, give me a second. I was listening to records yesterday. What was I playing? Jesus. It caught me off guard on that one.
Don't worry, we're going to edit it.
I know what it was. Yeah. It was Hanoi Rocks, All Those Wasted Years, the double live album. I was doing yard work yesterday, and I had it on my Bluetooth.
Wise selection. Jeff, what about you? I threw everybody a curveball on this question.
Know. Well, if you count today, mine was Dark Daze Unfazed by Bloody F Mess.
Oh, there you go, you butt kisser.
I know.
Thanks, bro.
Well, I've been listening to the new War Babies album, the Vault album.
Yes, that was good.
Released by Brad Sensel and Richard Stuverid, Seattle's finest, the godfathers of grunge. So if you haven't checked that one out, Bloody, you got to check it out. The War Babies Vault album.
Thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're out of our allotted time for the evening. Is there anything that we left off tonight that you would like to plug or promote?
No, I just want to say thanks a million for giving me the time and putting me on your show. I'm honored. And if anyone's interested in obtaining a copy of the Dark Daze Unfazed album on CD or vinyl, people can email me at dmoody41@hotmail.com.
Fantastic. Well, this is how things are going to work out. Once it's ready, Jeff, the editing ninja over here, will get all of our boogers all cleaned up, and we'll sound like $1 million. Sound good?
Sounds good. Keep me posted, you guys.
Absolutely. Bloody, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening to my tunes, too, and I'll catch you in March.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, guys. Take it easy.
Be well. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Everybody grinds the stone and makes their own mistakes. Hide in the headlights, fight the grip of fear. You can make your dreams come true, but you just can't do it here. Hey. Everybody eyes the gun and screams inside their head. Everybody bites their tongue and pays their bills instead. Hide in the spotlights, fight the grip of death. You can have the air you need, but you best not take one breath. Hey. Roll the dice. Take your chances. Everybody knows the game is fixed, there is no prize. Everybody pulls the plug and says their last goodbyes. Move to the sunshine, fight the grip of nights. If they ever take from you, then you plug out both their eyes. Hey. Roll the dice. Take your chances.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, The untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.